The day I decided to destroy my family started like any other Tuesday at Morrison and Beck. I'd just won a brutal securities fraud case, and the firm's partners were actually learning to pronounce my name correctly. Violet, not Mark's sister. I was reviewing case files when my phone buzzed. Mum's familiar number lit up the screen, and I already knew what was coming. I let it go to voicemail, like always. "Violet, honey, your brother's new pitch went amazing today. The investors were practically throwing money at him. You should have seen him up there, so confident, so brilliant. He really knows how to work a room. Anyway, call me back when you can. Oh, and did you get that secretary position you were interviewing for? I'm a senior litigation attorney, have been for 3 years." The message wasn't even cold when Donovan appeared in my doorway, manila folder in hand. His face had that particular expression, the one that meant either very good news or very bad news. "Nice work on the Henderson case," he said, closing my office door. "The client's ecstatic." "Thanks." I straightened in my chair. Donovan never gave compliments unless they were leading somewhere. He dropped the folder on my desk. "We just got retained on a major investor fraud suit, tech startup called Arcline Innovations. Ring any bells?" My stomach dropped. The coffee I'd been drinking turned to acid. "It should," he continued, watching me carefully. "The CEO is your brother." Memories flooded back. Last Thanksgiving, Mark holding court at the dinner table, explaining his revolutionary new platform. Mom and Dad hanging on every word, beaming with pride. Me, picking at my food, trying not to point out the glaring holes in his business model. "Dad mortgaged the house to invest in that company," I said quietly. "I know." Donovan leaned against my desk. "That's part of why I want you on this. You know the players better than anyone." I flipped open the folder. The numbers were staggering. Millions in missing investor funds, fabricated projections, forged documents. My brother's signature everywhere. "This isn't just bad business," I said. "This is fraud." "Exactly. And your parents signed off on false valuations. They're named as co-defendants." The room seemed to tilt slightly. I thought about all the family dinners, all the times Dad had laughed and said, "Ah, Violet, always so serious. She'll make a great secretary for Mark's company someday." "You don't have to take it," Donovan said. "We can assign someone else." My phone buzzed again. Another voicemail from Mum. "Honey, Mark mentioned he might need some basic legal help with his company. Nothing complicated, just paperwork. It would be such good experience for you." I looked up at Donovan. "When do we start?" He smiled. "I thought you might say that. First depositions are in 3 weeks. We'll need everything you've got." "They don't know I'm involved?" "Not yet. Want to recuse yourself?" I thought about Mark's smirk when he'd used my LinkedIn profile to claim he had top legal talent on his advisory board. About Mom and Dad draining their retirement to fund his dreams while telling me to be realistic about law school. "No," I said, "I want this case." Donovan nodded. "Good, because we're going after everyone involved. No settlements, no deals." As he left, my friend Taylor appeared in the doorway. She took one look at my face and closed the door behind her. "What's wrong?" I handed her the folder. She read for a moment, then whispered, "Holy shit." "Yeah." "Are you sure about this? It's your family." I picked up my phone, showing her Mum's messages. They stopped being family the day they decided Mark's lies were worth more than my truth. "Violet." "I warned them," I said, my voice steady. "I told them his numbers didn't add up. Dad said I was just jealous of Mark's success. Mum said I should be more supportive. Well, they're about to find out exactly how supportive I can be." Taylor sat down across from me. "This is going to get ugly." "It's already ugly. I'm just going to make it legal." My phone buzzed one more time. A text from Mark. "Hey sis, heard you won a big case. Maybe now you're good enough to help with some of my legal stuff. Nothing major, just need a signature or two." I placed my phone face down and pulled the case file closer. For years they'd treated me like I was nothing more than Mark's backup plan, his safety net, his secretary in waiting. They never bothered to look up long enough to see what I'd become. They were about to find out. I picked up my pen and began to write. preliminary motion for discovery, case number 2023 CV 4891 in the matter of Arcline Innovations. Game on, big brother. Game on. You should recuse yourself, Taylor said, pacing my office the next morning. This isn't just another case, it's your family. I was knee-deep in Arcline's financial records, each page making my blood run colder. Family doesn't forge bank statements. At least tell Donovan about the conflict of interest. He already knows. I held up a particularly damning document. Look at this. Mark claimed they had $12 million in pre-orders. The real number? 0. Taylor snatched the paper from my hands. Stop avoiding the conversation. This is going to destroy you. No, I said, pulling up another file on my laptop. This is going to destroy them. A knock at my door interrupted us. Donovan entered, followed by our lead investigator and a man I recognised from Mark's Instagram posts, Rowan, his biggest investor. Violet, Donovan said, Rowan would like to discuss the case strategy. Rowan's handshake was firm, his eyes hard. I've heard good things about you, though I have to ask, any relation to Mark Dawson? The room went quiet. I met his gaze steadily. He's my brother. Jesus Christ, Rowan turned to Donovan. And you assigned her to this case? Actually, Donovan said, I specifically requested her. No one knows the defendants better. That's exactly the problem. Rowan's face reddened. This is a clear conflict of interest. I stood up, sliding a document across my desk. Mr. Taylor, this is an email from my brother to my parents, dated 3 months ago. He's instructing them how to backdate investment documents and inflate company valuations. I found it in 10 minutes of looking. Rowan picked up the paper, scanning it quickly. I also have texts, I continued, showing them discussing which documents to shred when the company started tanking. Would you like to see those too? How did you get these? Chelsea sent them to me this morning. Mark's ex-girlfriend? She was his CFO until he fired her for questioning his creative accounting. Rowan sat down heavily. You're really willing to go after your own family? I pulled up another email on my screen. 2 years ago, Mark used my credentials without permission to convince investors he had in-house counsel. When I confronted him, he laughed it off. My parents said I should be flattered. Violet, Taylor warned softly. Last year, I continued, he borrowed $50,000 from our parents' retirement fund, told them it was for payroll. He spent it on a Tesla. And you have proof of all this? Rowan asked. I have proof of everything. Mark's not just careless, he's criminal. And my parents aren't innocent bystanders. They helped him defraud you and every other investor. Donovan cleared his throat. Perhaps we should discuss the actual legal strategy. No, Rowan interrupted. I want to hear more. Why are you really doing this? I thought about all the family photos on Mum's wall, Mark's graduations, Mark's awards, Mark's company launches. The only photo of me was from high school. Because the truth matters, I said. Because they chose to believe comfortable lies instead of uncomfortable facts. Because every investor deserves justice, even if the perpetrators are my blood. Rowan studied me for a long moment. Okay, he finally said. She stays on the case. After they left, Taylor lingered. That speech about truth and justice was very convincing. It wasn't a speech. Really, because it sounded an awful lot like revenge. My phone buzzed. Mom again. I ignored it. You know what the difference is between justice and revenge? I asked, pulling up another document. Documentation. Violet, look at this. I pointed to a signature line. That's supposedly Dad's signature on a guarantee for $2 million in seed funding, except Dad was in the hospital that day, having knee surgery. I have his medical records. How long have you been gathering evidence against them? I haven't been. I met her eyes. I've been paying attention. There's a difference. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Mark. Hey, sis, weird question. You still have access to those corporate law databases? Need to check something about shareholder rights. No big deal. I showed Taylor the message. Still think this is about revenge? She sighed. Just be careful. This won't end well. It already didn't end well. I opened another file. Now it's just going to end legally. After Taylor left, I sat alone in my office, staring at the growing mountain of evidence. Mum's voicemail light was still blinking. I pressed play. "Honey, your father and I got some strange legal papers today, probably just a mix-up. Could you take a look? You know how these things confuse us. Oh, and Mark's launching a new product line next week. You should come." I deleted the message and picked up my phone. Time to call Chelsea. If anyone knew where the rest of the bodies were buried, it would be Mark's ex-CFO, and I was going to find every single one. My phone rang at 7:43 a.m, Mum's ringtone. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something told me to answer. "Violet," her voice was shaking, "we need your help, right now." "What's wrong?" "These people, they're suing us. They're suing Mark. Something about fraud and misrepresentation. Your father's beside himself." I gripped my coffee mug tighter. "When were you served?" "Yesterday afternoon. Some man just showed up at the door with papers. Violet, they're saying we helped Mark deceive investors. That's ridiculous. We were just supporting our son's dreams." "Like you never supported mine." I pushed the thought away. "What exactly did you sign for Mark's company?" "Oh, just some routine things, valuations, projections. He said everyone's parents help with startups these days." "Did you read the documents before signing them?" "Of course not. He's our son. We trust him." I closed my eyes. Put Dad on the phone. There was rustling, then Dad's gruff voice. "Hey kiddo, quite a mess we've got here." "Tell me exactly what happened." "Your brother needed some signatures for his investors, said it was just formality stuff. Now these vultures are claiming we knowingly participated in some kind of scheme." "Did you guarantee any loans?" Silence. "Dad?" "Just the house," he said quietly. "And maybe the retirement accounts. Mark said it was temporary." My stomach churned. It was worse than I'd thought. "You need to get a lawyer," I said. "That's why we're calling you. You're a lawyer." "I can't represent you in this." "Why not? Your family. Use that legal brain of yours to fix this." Fix this. Like I was the family janitor, expected to clean up Mark's messes while they praised his genius. "I can't," I repeated. "It would be a conflict of interest." "What conflict? This is your brother we're talking about." "Exactly." I took a deep breath. "Get another lawyer, a good one. You're going to need it." I hung up before he could argue. 10 minutes later, I was in Donovan's office. "They called you, didn't they?" he asked. I nodded. "They have no idea what they've done or what's coming." "Are you sure you want to continue? It's not too late to step back." My phone buzzed with a text from Mark. "Mum and Dad freaking out over some legal BS. Handle it for me. You're good at that boring stuff." I showed Donovan the message. "I'm sure." Later that day, I met with Rowan in our conference room. He spread dozens of emails across the table, correspondence between Mark and my parents, discussing which numbers to adjust and which documents to backdate. "Your brother promised me personally that these projections were conservative," Rowan said, his voice tight. "Said his parents had vetted everything, trusted family members, he said, pillars of the community." I picked up one email. Mum's words jumped out. "Of course we'll sign whatever you need, sweetheart. We believe in you completely." They weren't ignorant, I said. They were willing. "You understand we're going after everything? The house, the retirement accounts, all of it?" I thought about my law school graduation. How Mum and Dad had left early because Mark had an important investor meeting they couldn't miss. How they'd missed my first major court victory because they were attending Mark's product launch. "Yes," I said, "I understand completely." Rowan studied me. "You know, most people would protect their family." "I am protecting my family from themselves." That evening, Taylor found me still at my desk, reviewing deposition schedules. "Your mum called me," she said. "She's worried about you, says you're not returning her calls." "I can't talk to them right now, not until—" "Until what? Until you've destroyed them completely?" I pulled up a document on my screen. "Look at this. Mark's pitch deck from last year. See that part about their expert legal team? That's my LinkedIn profile he screenshot, without asking." Violet, and this. I clicked to another file. That's my parents' signature on a document claiming they'd personally reviewed the company's financials, the same financials Mark was falsifying. They're still your parents. No. I stood up, gathering my things. They're witnesses in a fraud case, and they're going to learn that actions have consequences. My phone lit up with another text from Mark. Come on, sis, help a brother out. Remember when we were kids and I let you play with my computer? Time to return the favour. I turned off my phone and grabbed my briefcase. The deposition notices would be served tomorrow. Soon they'd all know exactly which side of the table I was sitting on. Let them call me then. Chelsea agreed to meet me at a coffee shop across town. Mark's ex-girlfriend and former CFO looked different from her LinkedIn photo. Thinner, harder, with dark circles under her eyes that makeup couldn't quite hide. I was wondering when someone would finally come asking questions, she said, stirring her latte. Didn't expect it to be you. Tell me everything. She pulled out her phone. I kept receipts, all of them. Your brother threatened to sue me for breach of contract if I ever shared these, but... She laughed bitterly. I've got nothing left to lose. The documents she forwarded painted a devastating picture. Mark had siphoned investor money into personal accounts, spent hundreds of thousands on influencer partnerships that never materialised, and dumped millions into crypto right before the market crashed. What about my parents? I asked. How involved were they? Oh, they were his favourite rubber stamp. Chelsea's voice dripped with contempt. Every time investors wanted verification of his claims, he'd get your parents to sign off. They never questioned anything. Did they know what they were signing? Your mum did the company's internal audits, or claimed to anyway. Mark wrote them, she signed them. Your dad guaranteed loans with his house, his retirement, everything. I took a sip of my coffee. It had gone cold. Tell me about the Tesla. Chelsea's eyes narrowed. Which one? There was more than one? 3, plus the vacation house in Aspen he said was for corporate retreats, the private jet membership for investor relations, the yacht rental for team building. She pulled up more documents. It was never about the technology. Mark just wanted to play billionaire with other people's money. My phone buzzed. Mom again. I ignored it. You know what the worst part was? Chelsea continued. He almost had me convinced I was crazy. Every time I questioned an expense, he'd say I just didn't understand startup culture, that I was too rigid, too conventional. That sounds familiar. Yeah, well, he got sloppy, started leaving paper trails. When I confronted him, he fired me, said I was undermining company morale. She looked at me directly. Your parents were at that meeting. They watched him do it. Your mum even said maybe I needed to be more supportive. I thought about all the times I'd heard those same words. There's something else you should know, Chelsea said, lowering her voice. The acquisition deal? The one your parents mortgaged their house for? It was fake. My stomach dropped. What? Mark forged the letters of intent, made up the whole thing. Your parents signed over their house based on documents he created in Microsoft Word. I stood up abruptly. I need copies of everything. Already sent them to your work email. Chelsea smiled grimly. Make it hurt, Violet. Later that afternoon, I did something I hadn't done in months. I drove to my parents' house. The familiar suburban street felt different now, knowing what I knew. Mom answered the door with a relieved smile. Violet, we've been so worried. Have you looked at those legal papers yet? Just checking in, I said, following her inside. Nothing had changed. Mark's achievements still plastered the walls, his startup coverage framed in the hallway. Dad was in his usual chair, watching CNBC. Hey kiddo, finally here to help with this lawsuit nonsense? Actually, I'm just visiting. I sat down, noting the Tesla brochure on the coffee table. How's Mark? Oh, he's handling everything beautifully, Mum beamed. Such a natural leader. He says it's just a misunderstanding with some difficult investors. Nothing to worry about. Did he tell you about the acquisition deal? Of course. We're so proud. Once that goes through, everything will be fine. I looked at the second mortgage papers sitting on Dad's desk, my stomach turning. They had no idea. You know, Violet, Dad said, his tone condescending, if you'd gone into business instead of law, you might understand how these things work. Sometimes you have to take risks to achieve greatness. Is that what Mark told you? He's finally got you acting like family, Mum said warmly. Supporting your brother like you should. My phone buzzed, a text from Chelsea with one final document, proof of Mark using the house money for his third Tesla. I should go, I said, standing up. Work to do. That's our Violet, Dad chuckled, always so serious. As I drove away, I got another text from Mark. Parents say you visited. Thanks for being cool about everything, sis. Knew I could count on you. I pulled over and forwarded Chelsea's documents to Donovan. Then I typed out a response to my brother. You can count on me, all right. Just wait and see. The moment I submitted the full evidentiary briefing, I knew there was no going back. My name was on every document, every motion, every damning piece of evidence. By tomorrow morning, my family would know exactly what I'd done. Taylor found me in my office at midnight, staring at my phone. Your mum's called 6 times, she said, sitting down across from me. 7, she left a voicemail asking if I could recommend a good defence attorney. I laughed hollowly. She still doesn't know. The filing goes public in 8 hours. I know. Are you ready for this? Before I could answer, Donovan appeared in my doorway. Their lawyer just called. They want to meet. My heart stopped. They know? No. Mark's attorney saw your name on the filing docket. He's requesting a private meeting before it goes public. Donovan's expression was grim. Tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. That's not much notice. They're desperate. The question is, are you ready to face your brother? I thought about Chelsea's documents, the forged acquisition papers, the Tesla receipts. Yes. Violet, Taylor touched my arm, you don't have to be the one who does this. Actually, I do. I stood up, gathering my files. I've spent my whole life watching them choose him. Tomorrow they'll have to choose the truth. The next morning I arrived at the office early. Mark's attorney was already in the conference room. James, a shark in an expensive suit who specialised in making corporate fraud disappear. Violet? His face showed genuine surprise. You're the prosecutor? Lead counsel for the plaintiffs, I corrected, setting down my briefcase. Does Mark know? He will soon. James leaned forward. Look, we can work something out. Your brother made some mistakes, but fraud isn't a mistake. Neither is forging documents or embezzling investor funds. He's family. No, I said, opening my laptop. He's a defendant. The door opened. Mark walked in, wearing his signature startup founder outfit. Designer jeans, black turtleneck, confident smile. The smile faltered when he saw me. Sis, what are you doing here? I slid a document across the table. Representing the plaintiffs in their fraud case against you, Mum and Dad. His face went through several emotions. Confusion, disbelief, anger. You're joking. Does this look like a joke? I pulled up the evidence on the conference room screen. Bank transfers to personal accounts, forged acquisition documents, 3 Tesla purchases using investor funds. Those were business expenses. Was the yacht a business expense too? The Aspen House? The private jet membership? Mark's smile returned, but it was colder now. Come on, Vi. We both know what this is really about. Dad calling you a secretary, Mum missing your graduation. You're still that jealous little sister trying to prove something. No, I said quietly. I'm a lawyer who has you dead to rights on multiple counts of securities fraud, and in about... I checked my watch. 3 hours, everyone will know. You wouldn't dare. Chelsea gave us everything, Mark. Every email, every forged document, every fake audit Mum signed. His face paled. I'll deny it all. Under oath? That's bold, considering the paper trail. James interrupted. Perhaps we should discuss settlement terms. No settlements, I said. No deals. The truth comes out today. Mark stood up, his chair scraping loudly. If you do this, you'll destroy Mum and Dad too. Is that what you want? They destroyed themselves when they chose to help you defraud investors. They were helping their son, and now their daughter is helping justice. Mark leaned across the table, his voice low. I'll tell them everything. How you've been building this case for months, how their precious daughter stabbed them in the back. Go ahead, the truth was going to come out anyway. He straightened, adjusting his turtleneck. You know what? Do your worst, but remember, when this is over, you won't have a family left. I haven't had a real family in years. I've just had cheerleaders for your lies. After they left, Taylor found me in my office. How did it go? About as well as expected. I showed her my phone, 20 missed calls from Mum, 10 from Dad. They know. What are you going to do? I pulled up the final deposition schedule. Mum and Dad were listed for next week. I'm going to do my job, I said, and they're going to learn that actions have consequences. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Mark. Mum's crying. Dad's talking about heart attacks. Hope you're happy with yourself. I typed back 3 words. Truth hurts, brother. Then I turned off my phone and prepared for war. The cafe was empty except for Mark and me. He'd demanded this meeting through back channels, claiming he wanted to work things out. I knew better. You look terrible, I said, noting his wrinkled shirt and unshaven face. Yeah, well, having your sister try to destroy your life will do that. He stirred his coffee absently. Mum hasn't stopped crying for 3 days. Did you tell her about the fake acquisition papers yet? Or should I save that for the deposition? Mark's facade cracked slightly. Come on, you're not really doing this. The evidence is already filed. There's no turning back. Evidence? He laughed bitterly. You mean Chelsea's revenge package? She's just bitter because I fired her. You fired her for doing her job, for trying to stop you from committing fraud. It wasn't fraud. It was aggressive business strategy. Every startup does it. I pulled out my phone, pulled up a document. Is this your signature authorizing a wire transfer of investor funds to buy your 3rd Tesla? That was a business expense. And this? Another document. Falsified revenue projections that Mum certified as accurate. They were supporting their son. They were enabling a criminal. Mark's charm switched on like a light. Look, sis, I know we've had our differences, but we can fix this. I've got some new investors lined up once this round closes. More people to defraud? Jesus, Violet! He slammed his hand on the table. What do you want from me? An apology? Fine. I'm sorry I used your LinkedIn profile. I'm sorry Dad called you a secretary. Is that what this is about? I leaned forward. You really don't get it, do you? This isn't about hurt feelings. It's about laws you broke, people you stole from, lives you ruined. Nobody got hurt. Chelsea lost everything. Rowan's company nearly went bankrupt. Mum and Dad mortgaged their future on your lies. I was trying to build something great. You were trying to play billionaire with other people's money. His smile turned cruel. At least I tried. What have you built? A career pushing papers? A life so empty you have to destroy your family to feel important? There it is, I said quietly. The real Mark, the one who thinks rules don't apply to him. The one who believes his dreams justify any crime. It's called ambition, something you wouldn't understand. I pulled out one final document. This is your plea deal. Confess, return the money, testify against your co-conspirators, and we push for civil penalties instead of criminal charges. Mark's face darkened. You want me to testify against our parents? I want the truth. The truth? He stood up, looming over me. The truth is you've always been jealous, always been bitter that Mum and Dad believed in me more than you. Well, guess what? They were right. I took risks while you played it safe. I dreamed big while you counted paperclips. Sit down. You know what Dad told me last week? He said he always knew you'd try to hurt me somehow, that your success made you cold, made you forget what family means. Something snapped inside me. Family? You want to talk about family? Where were you when I graduated law school? Oh, right, at an investor meeting that Mum and Dad just had to attend. Where were you when I made partner? When I won my first major case? Too busy spending other people's money to notice. Violet, You used my credentials without permission. You dragged our parents into your fraud. You lied and stole, and when someone tried to stop you, you destroyed them. That's not family. That's not business. That's just criminal. Mark's mask slipped completely. If I go down, I'm taking them with me. Mum and Dad signed everything. They knew exactly what they were doing. Finally, I said, standing up. The truth. He realised his mistake too late. That's not... I didn't mean... Your deposition is Monday. Bring a better story than that. As I turned to leave, he called after me. They'll never forgive you for this. I stopped at the door. They never saw me anyway. At least now they'll have to look. Outside, Taylor was waiting in her car. How did it go? I handed her my phone with the recording of Mark's confession. Get this to Donovan. We'll need it for Monday. Violet, are you okay? I watched through the window as Mark put his head in his hands, finally looking like what he was. A fraud whose luck had run out. No, I said, but I will be, when this is over. And your parents? My phone buzzed with a text from Mum. How could you do this to your brother? To us? We're your family. I turned off the phone. Monday, I said. They'll get their answers Monday. The deposition room felt smaller than usual. My parents sat across the table, their lawyer between them, looking anywhere but at me. Mum's hands trembled as she arranged and rearranged her water glass. Dad's jaw was set in that familiar way, the look he got when he was about to lecture me about supporting my brother. Let the record show, I began, my voice steady, that this is the deposition of Laura and Richard in the matter of Taylor versus Arcline Innovations. Violet, Mum whispered, but their lawyer silenced her with a touch. I placed my business card on the table. I'm leading this deposition pursuant to Rule 30b-6. Please state your names for the record. Dad's face had gone grey. What is this? Answer the question, please. Their lawyer leaned forward. My clients would like a moment. Your clients have had moments, years of them. Names, please. Mum started crying softly. Dad put his arm around her, glaring at me. Laura and Richard, your parents, in case you've forgotten. And what was your role at Arcline Innovations? We were investors, Dad snapped, supporting our son's business. I pulled out the first document. This is a company audit dated March 15th. Mrs. Laura, is this your signature? Mum nodded. Verbal response, please. Yes, she whispered. And did you actually perform this audit? Mark said it was just a formality. I placed another document on the table. This shows Arcline had $0 in revenue when you certified it had $12 million. Did you know that? Mark explained, yes or no. Mum broke down completely. He's our son. We were trying to help him. By committing fraud, their lawyer interrupted. Objection. Argumentative. Withdrawn. I pulled out the Tesla receipts. Did you know investor funds were being used for personal purchases? Now wait just a minute, Dad's voice rose. We were just trying to help him succeed, something you've clearly never understood. Did you read the documents before signing them? Of course not. We trusted him. Even after I warned you the numbers didn't add up? The room went silent. Dad's face reddened. You were always jealous of his success. What success? I slapped down the fake acquisition papers. This letter of intent you mortgaged your house on, it's forged. Mark created it in Microsoft Word. There was never any acquisition deal. Mum's sob caught in her throat. That's not true. It is true, and you would have known that if you'd spent 5 minutes actually looking at what you were signing instead of blindly enabling his fraud. We were just trying to help. Dad's voice had lost its edge. Help! I stood up, my control finally cracking. I tried to help too. I tried to warn you. I tried to show you the problems. But you didn't want to hear it from me, did you? Because I was just the careful one, the boring one, the one who'd make a great secretary someday. Violet, please. Mum reached across the table. I pulled back. Do you know what Mark told me last week? He said you knew exactly what you were doing, that you signed everything willingly. He wouldn't say that, Dad protested. I played the recording. Mark's voice filled the room. Mom and Dad signed everything. They knew exactly what they were doing. Mom put her head in her hands. Dad's face crumpled. We were just trying to support him. No, I said quietly. You were choosing him, like you always have, and now you get to face the consequences, like I always have. Their lawyer called for a break, but I wasn't finished. One last question. I pulled out the final document. This is your LinkedIn post from last month, celebrating Mark's visionary leadership. Posted the same day you received the lawsuit notice. Why? Mum looked up, tears streaming. We thought, if we just believed in him hard enough. The truth doesn't care what you believe. I gathered my papers. We'll resume after lunch. I suggest you use that time to decide whether you want to keep defending lies or start telling the truth. As I turned to leave, Dad called out, "We were just being parents." I stopped at the door. No, you were being his parents. You were never mine. Outside, Taylor was waiting. That was necessary, I finished. Are you okay? Through the glass, I could see Mum crying into Dad's shoulder, their lawyer speaking urgently to them. Years of blind support crumbling under the weight of reality. No, I said, but the truth isn't supposed to feel good. It's just supposed to be true. My phone buzzed. Mark again. What did you do to them? I typed back, I showed them who you really are, who they really are. The rest is up to them. Then I straightened my jacket and headed back in. There were still questions to answer, truths to uncover, and I was just getting started. The settlement papers landed on my desk with a soft thud. Mark had finally cracked, agreeing to full restitution and cooperation. His testimony had sealed everything else, the fraud, the forgeries, our parents' willing participation. Quite a victory, Donovan said, leaning against my doorframe. Rowan's ecstatic. What about my parents? They're selling the house. Between that and liquidating their retirement accounts, they should be able to cover their portion of the damages. I nodded, trying to ignore the hollow feeling in my chest. Your brother's facing civil penalties, he continued. No jail time, thanks to his cooperation, but he'll never run another company. My phone buzzed. A text from Chelsea. Just saw the news, thank you. Taylor appeared behind Donovan, holding a bottle of champagne. We're celebrating. Come on. In a minute. After they left, I sat in the quiet of my office, staring at the family photo I'd kept in my drawer. Mum, Dad, Mark and me at his college graduation. They were all beaming at him while I stood slightly apart, already invisible. A knock at my door startled me. Mum stood there, looking smaller than I remembered. Can I come in? I gestured to the chair across from me. She sat, clutching her purse like a shield. The house sells next week, she said quietly. We're moving into an apartment. I know. Your father. She paused, swallowing hard. He's not handling it well, keeps saying he failed as a parent. Did he? She flinched. We thought we were doing the right thing, supporting our son's dreams. And my dreams? You never needed our support. You were always so capable. I laughed bitterly. I needed you, Mum. I just wasn't willing to lie to get your attention. Mark says we betrayed him, that we should have fought harder. Mark's still lying to you, to himself, to everyone. She pulled something from her purse, my law school graduation photo. I found this while packing. We weren't there, were we? No, you were at Mark's product launch. Tears filled her eyes. I'm sorry, Violet, not for supporting Mark, but for never seeing you, for never understanding that success doesn't have to be loud to be real. It's a little late for that. I know. She stood up, but I thought you should hear it anyway. As she reached the door, she turned back. Your father wanted me to ask, will we ever be family again? We never really were, I said softly. But maybe we can build something new, something honest this time. After she left, I walked to the conference room where Taylor and Donovan were pouring champagne. There she is, Taylor handed me a glass. The woman who brought down her own brother. No, I corrected, the lawyer who exposed the truth. Donovan raised his glass. To justice. To consequences, I added. My phone buzzed one last time. Mark. I hope you're happy. You've ruined everything. I typed back, no, you ruined everything. I just proved it. Then I turned back to my colleagues, my real family, the people who saw me clearly from the start. You know what the hardest part was? I said, sipping my champagne. Not the case, not the evidence. It was realizing that sometimes justice looks exactly like revenge, but feels completely different. How so? Taylor asked. Revenge wants to hurt. Justice wants to heal, even when the actions look the same. Donovan nodded. And which was this? I thought about Mum's visit, about Dad's broken pride, about Mark's final lies crumbling under oath. Both, I admitted, but mostly justice. Because the truth matters more than family loyalty. Because consequences aren't punishment, they're education. And what did they learn? I looked out the window at the city skyline, thinking about all the invisible daughters watching their brothers shine, all the quiet competence overshadowed by loud mediocrity. They learned that actions matter more than intentions, that truth doesn't care about family ties, and that sometimes the person they overlooked becomes the person they can't ignore. Taylor refilled my glass. To the overlooked. No, I said, smiling for the first time in weeks. To the truth, it wins in the end. My phone stayed silent after that. There would be more words later, more attempts at understanding, more bridges to build or burn. But for now there was just this, the quiet satisfaction of justice served, of truth unveiled, of consequences finally finding their mark. They told me I'd work for my brother someday. They were right. I just never told them I'd be holding the gavel.